Welcome to this a fireside chat is how Fertility Network UK sort of sold it to me. You, Ian, and Toby will have a little fireside chat. I can see the fires roaring all around us.
It's warm.
It's toasty.
We weren't able to meet up in person, but this is our fireside chat. So I am Rhod Gilbert. I am a comedian and sometimes TV presenter who did a documentary called Stand Up to Infertility, which aimed to explore the area of male infertility a little bit. And in that documentary, I set up a campaign called HIMFertility, which was to encourage men to talk about fertility and to engage more in the process if they felt they needed to try and reduce the stigma and the taboo about talking about fertility and infertility, and to just try and raise a bit of awareness, really, that this is very much a male issue, that male factor infertility is, sort of half the issue, and to get men talking about it. That's how I come to be at this fireside chat.
Welcome, Rhod.
Yeah.
welcome to the fireside chat.
Thank you very much.
So I'm Toby Trice. I'm a racing driver and ambassador for Fertility Network UK. My goal really is to kind of raise awareness through racing for fertility. That's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm racing all around the country as I grow, and the goal is to go to Le Mans, where I kind of represent this whole fertility awareness campaign across the globe through motorsport and trying to get people talking. And as an ambassador of Fertility Network UK, I also host this HIMFertility support group with Ian and Rhod. I'm a very proud member of that, and making sure that we're doing the best we can really to help guys through what is such a difficult journey. Just echoing what Rhod just said, we're here to support each other, and I think this kind of like brotherhood of guys that are out there that want to make a difference is really, really important, because going through fertility treatment is hugely isolating. I've been through the journey myself for 6 years now, and it's hugely difficult. So that's me. Ian, welcome to the fire.
Yeah. You know what? I did contemplate whether I should lit my log burner and sat by it, but I'd probably get extremely hot and uncomfortable. So, we'll go without. But yeah, lovely to be sitting here with you guys by the fire and chatting. Yeah, my name's Ian Stones. I have a background in fertility and wellness kind of care, looking after people going through fertility treatment, but I'm also an ambassador for the charity and work with Toby and Rhod, kind of help him run the HIMFertility support group. And me and Toby were put together to launch the kind of first kind of online support group back in April 2020, and it's just been absolutely fantastic ever since. And kind of everything that you did, Rhod, with the documentary about raising that awareness and getting guys talking is a mission that we're all well aligned to. And me and Toby were just chatting before we kind of came on this call, just saying how lucky we are and how privileged we are to be doing something that we love and we're so passionate about. And I think we've seen, we'll perhaps chat about this, like the level of change that we've seen in the year and a half that we've been doing this, and how the documentary helped with that as well, that guys are stepping up and chatting more and coming to the support group and what have you. So it's been brilliant, and I know we've got so much more to do, as us three with what we're doing, and all the other guys that come along, because we've built a really amazing community. So I thought I'd chuck a question at you, Rhod, actually, if that's right, to open up the conversation.
Fire away, mate.
Yeah.
Fire away.
How's it been for you kind of joining the support group? Because obviously, we've talked about kind of the documentary and how uncomfortable that was for you, and how kind of alien it was for you to put yourself in the public eye on such an emotive and personal subject. So how have you found it kind of coming into the support group and then kind of being with all these other guys?
Yeah, I should probably have said really in my introduction, but I'll say it now, is that the reason I did a documentary called Stand Up to Infertility was that my wife and I have been trying for a long time to have kids. We've been through pretty much every fertility aspect of fertility journeys you can go through, from ICSI and several rounds of IVF and things. And I found myself, I call it best supporting actor. I always found myself sitting next to my wife, but never really the person who was leading the conversation. She always sat next to the medical person or the nurse or the doctor, the gynecologist, whoever it was always my wife that led the conversation, my wife that sort of made the notes, my wife that would ring the clinic if we needed to. I found myself sort of in the background and not minding too much. I think for a long time that I was in the background, because it saved me facing up to the fact that I could have issues myself in fertility. And I think I realized that after a while and thought that's wrong and I should try and do something about that. But I thought I'm probably not alone. I think it's probably quite a common thing for men to feel like that. And hence I pitched the documentary to the BBC to explore whether I was right. And lo and behold, it seems that that theory did hold some water, and, and a quick trip to the Fertility Expo in Kensington Olympia showed me that this is mainly women sort of, and blokes do tend to be in the background a bit. So that's why I did the documentary. And as you say, it is because it's, as well as the documentary, this is my life. You know, we have just now had this week had another unsuccessful round of IVF, which has been very, very difficult. We're both in a bit of a bad way this week. And the group is not always easy coming to the group for me, because we're in the middle of it. And sometimes I'll come on the group. At the moment, we hold it the last Wednesday of every month, as you know. But sometimes that day I could have had really bad news. And nonetheless, that's what the group is kind of there for people to come along if they feel like it and not if they don't. But I think it can be, you know, we've all seen how helpful it's been to the group of guys that we've got there, the community, as you call it. It has become a community. You do see regular faces, and they are sort of getting to know each other, and you can see they're starting to find support and solace and really help each other out, and they're there for each other. So it's been wonderful in a way joining. You know, I'm really pleased, and I've said this to you guys many times. I'm really pleased that it wasn't just a TV documentary, that it had a life beyond TV, and that the HIMFertility campaign that we set up on TV was then adopted by Fertility Network UK and with you guys, and we've all joined forces. So I'm really pleased that has become something in the real world, and we're really helping real people on a day-to-day basis, which is wonderful. So joining the group is fantastic for me, but equally, because I am in the middle of this myself, as a lot of the guys are in the group, it's hard as well. You know, it can be really hard to come on there and open up about stuff, but it's just been brilliant, hasn't it? You know, it is brilliant. It is really, really important to talk about this stuff. Sometimes I just wish I could change the day, you know, and say, it's a bad day. It's a bad day for us today. Can we do this tomorrow night? Yeah. But that's the wonderful thing for guys who are going through the same stuff as my wife and I are going through. Then they can choose whether to come on that particular Wednesday or not. If they've had a really bad day, they don't have to come but they might want to come a month later and talk about it. So it's, you know, it's I think it's a fantastic resource.
Yeah, it's been quite powerful, really, because when we first started the very first online support group back in the midst of a pandemic, I think if we kind of asked guys to rock up at location and, you know, have a fertility chat, I don't think we'd get many guys. But I remember our very first one; it was really humbling just how many people turned up, albeit some or most actually left their web cameras off, which was, you know, it allows them just to kind of tune in and listen to the conversation. But certainly from the experience of the last 18 months of doing this, we found that more and more people are coming and turn their cameras on, turn their microphones on, and actually going, look, can I say something? Can I share my story? And it's so empowering to see guys really open up about something that actually is such a difficult thing to even begin to talk about, let alone do it in front of a bunch of strangers. So I think the space we've created has been hugely humbling and just a really good place for guys to come and have a chat. And the fact that it's really informal, I think's why it works. Don't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I think sort of Rod, you sort of used the word community, and I think that's something we've seen over the last few months. Like initially, I think when we started the group, it was a lot of me and Toby chatting, which was great because Toby's so open, you're so open about your story, and that, I think that helped bring so many guys to actually, oh, okay, if Toby can do it, I'll do it and I'll share my story. So it was a lot of us chatting initially, and then we had some experts come in and kind of talk about particular subjects. But what I've noticed over the last few months this year has been that sense of community, and the fact that we do have regulars that have come pretty much every month since we started. And certainly, Rhod, with us coming together with the HIMFertility campaign, has brought a whole load of new faces in as well, and then some of them have stayed. But actually, that they support each other now. It's sometimes we kick it off, don't we? And then we sit back, and actually the guys look after themselves. And it's like, oh yeah, I've been through that, and this is what I did, and this is how I felt, and we just kind of there to hold that space, and it's just so magical.
Yeah, I agree. And the breadth of experience is great as well on there. That I know we've had, because there's a lot of different stuff going on, but I know we've had people sort of talk about sperm donation, and really being faced with an issue where they're going to have to go down a donor sperm donor route, and they don't know anything about it really. They're just at the very start of that journey and trying to come to terms with it. And then in the group on the screen of the guys who got there, somebody will put their hand up and go, "I've done this. I've been through this. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you all about it." And that's so helpful.
Yeah,
that's invaluable when you're on. I think we had a guy, didn't we? Who was on. He's just found out that day almost that that he was going to have to go down this route. So his head must have been all over the place, but nonetheless, he'd come on in that state and found somebody there who was able straight away to really reassure him and give him information that he would probably be very difficult to get just by searching on the internet, or very impersonal. And it's that sort of that breadth of experience, the range of experiences we've got in the group now.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Whatever it is, somebody's been through it. Somebody's there and they've been through it. So they've got a similar story to tell.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, isn't it? Because like when you look at kind of male fertility and it's not really spoken about as a real topic, you can get lost in what are the causes of male infertility, and actually there's so many different possible outcomes, different treatment processes, and different reasons why a couple can't conceive. And because typically through someone going through a fertility journey, like you said before, the kind of focus seems to be on the woman and it's the guys are in the background. Since we've kind of built this and we then get to hear from other guys of their own experiences, like I say, it's just amazing just how many different sort of outcomes there are, treatment pathways, and issues that can cause a couple to be infertile, not able to have children. And I think that's been really, really quite a big emotional part for me, really, is sort of seeing actually just how varied this problem is. But because we've created that space, and we've attracted the guys that have kind of almost lived through different experiences, so much can be offered to people that join and go, actually, yeah, that happened to me and I can actually help out. Whereas Rhod and I have had our own experiences and our own outcomes, and that might be different to the next person that comes. And I think it's really powerful just how this community's grown, this group of guys that are there to help each other out.
I think what's also important to kind of mention is that it's not just a group for men with male factor infertility or male factors. We have had guys, and we do get guys regularly that seemingly from their tests and investigations that it's nothing wrong with them that they know of, but it's a very definite diagnosed female issue, but they're still going through the pain of fertility treatment. They're still going through that kind of heartache of seeing their partner go through the drug regime, go through the IVF, go through all of that. And for that guy kind of knowing that he doesn't know what to do, does he? He's like, Christ, how do I help? What do I do? And actually for him to be able to come and offload that pressure and that stress in a group where you've got other guys in the same boat is again, it's about that breadth, isn't it? That breadth of experience and what guys are going through. It's just, I don't, where else would you get a bunch of guys chatting like this in one place? I mean, you tried it, Rhod.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, that is the thing. Where else do you go get that? That is the thing for blokes, I think, really, is where do you go? Where the hell do you go to unburden yourself, to get this off your chest, to say how you're feeling? We're there partly, I guess, to hopefully, point people in the right direction for resources or information, that kind of stuff. But equally, it is just about, therapy, just talking, getting it off your chest with a group of sympathetic, empathetic people, many of whom are in a similar situation or have been in a similar situation and come out the other end, where do you go? That is, I mean, that's why we're here, isn't it? It's because there isn't anywhere. I did this on the documentary. I tried to find somewhere to go back a few years ago when I originally, was sort of filming the documentary. I tried to find places for men to talk about male infertility, and I didn't find anywhere. Nothing globally.
Yeah, well, globally, this is it. We've had guys from LA join us, possibly, I think, Africa, Canada, yeah. And the one I remember is the guy watering his garden in Australia. There's us, like, say, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and he was standing there with his hose watering the grass, and we're talking about.
I don't think he was supposed to be there. I think he just left his camera on. It was a bit awkward. I did a shout out in the documentary. I did a shout out on social media. Any guys willing to talk to me would find this helpful. And admittedly, that's with TV cameras. That brings its own issues and challenges. Getting guys together to talk on TV is a whole different thing. But we had seven guys, responses globally, and there's seven of us. The 7 of us met in a pub in Cardiff, and we keep talking about this, but hopefully one day we will be by a fireside in a pub with a group one day. But having said that, this does work well as well, doesn't it? It's like, as you say, Toby, you sort of alluded to it. This online does work well because people can join fairly safely. They have to register to join with Fertility Network UK, but once they're in, they can leave their camera off. They can sit and listen. They can, and I know that you guys have seen. Over the months, you've seen people who've joined, you've seen the name on the screen, and then one day the camera is switched on and that comes on. That must be a great moment for you guys to see somebody going, I'm going to take the plunge tonight.
Yeah, I think that's really special, to be fair. But I think that only comes really down to credit to what you're doing, Rhod, with obviously the the media campaign, the documentary. Without kind of us being sort of outspoken about male fertility and kind of normalising the topic and actually being quite open about our own personal stories, that when we're doing that on the group chat, it's then quite natural for that person then to switch their camera on, because they're sort of in that mindset where, like, well, if they can be quite open and talk about it, do you know what, I may as well come and have a chat and actually tell someone about what I'm going through. And it's quite interesting because a lot of the guys,
they wouldn't be able to do that in real life, though. They couldn't just leave their camera off. That is a great thing about this online.
You turn up with a bag over your head at the pub. Your eyes cut out.
Written on it.
But that's when we're grateful for, in a really kind of strange way, we're kind of grateful almost for the pandemic to kind of exist. Of course, that was a really bad global issue, but actually for the sake of our support group, it really ignited something for us, because it gives you that option, doesn't it? This kind of world of Zoom that we're in these days, that everyone's quite happy to jump on a Zoom call and you can keep your camera off, is allowed this group to grow. Like you said, 7, when you've advertised this globally and only 7 have turned up, it just shows, doesn't it, how difficult it is to even think about talking about it, let alone kind of joining a group of other guys.
Which is bonkers when you think about the numbers involved in male fertility as well. Rosie the dog's made an appearance. That's good.
Hey, Rosie.
But Rosie, say hello. Love to curl by the fire. Curl up by the fire.
Yeah. Well, that's it. A fireside chat. We've got to have a dog by the fire, haven't we? But when you think about the numbers, so bearing in mind we get anywhere between 15 and our biggest was sort of 50 in terms of attendance at our groups, but sort of averages about 20 a month, and then we have a lot of regulars. But we're talking millions and millions of men that are affected by this, globally. It's and 1 in 6, isn't it? I think 1 in 6 guys have a fertility issue. Yet you put these calls out and very few step up. So let's just hope that we can keep spreading the word. And I've certainly found I'm having a lot more conversations with men now that I certainly wasn't having 2 years ago. Despite working in the fertility world, guys are keen to get help and advice, and there's just not that information out there, is it? There's just not that consistent, reliable kind of info and resources for them to kind of go to. And actually, I think, again, you mentioned this, Rhod, like the educational element of the group as well. And I think this is, there's quite a few kind of key moments over the last kind of year and a half or so but kind of seeing guys actually get informed about their health and their fertility, and then knowing what they can do, and that some of them have gone on and done that, and it's made a huge difference to their journey, and some have gone on to get pregnant as a result of what they've learned from the group. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better outcome.
It's kind of frustrating in a way, isn't it? It's kind of wonderful, but equally shouldn't be that shouldn't be the case. You know, they shouldn't be having a light bulb moment and hearing something for the first time that could fundamentally change their outcome and completely change their fertility journey and switch it around into them. They shouldn't be hearing that on our support group, you know, but that's where we are. I think that is where we are. So yeah, our group is definitely about pointing people in the right direction for resources, information, help, and as much as it is an ear, you know, just a listening exercise and a sort of therapy and therapeutic and cathartic, and get it off your chest.
Yeah, exactly. But it was evident in your documentary, to be fair. Like, you know, you've walked around a shopping centre with, you know, a big banner above your head, which, you know, mate, I've got a lot of credit to you for that. Fair play to you, that took a lot of bravery. But, you know, you've walked around a shopping centre where there's hundreds, maybe thousands of people. You know, if you just go by the 1 in 6 couples that are going through fertility issues, the chances are you've walked past many couples that have struggled or struggling or going to struggle. And yet, you know, like you said earlier, it took ages to actually even get, you know, just a group of guys talking about wearing tight boxers, and it's madness, isn't it, really? But massive hats off to you, because that took a lot of bravery to go and do that. Yeah,
there's so many barriers for men talking about this. I mean, I talk about it on stage every night on tour now, you know, and I encourage any men to talk to me in the audience.
Do they? Have you had anyone? No.
I would say pretty reliably every night, if I shout out, anyone got any issues with their sperm, in an average audience size of about 1,000 or 2,000 people, I'd get one.
Wow.
Right.
One.
But you know what? I think...
I mean, I don't expect. I mean, that's not really a great experiment. You know, I don't expect people to go kind of thing. But after, outside the gig, and I get people waiting and coming up and talking about it, and I'm now mentioning the group, and I'm mentioning that the fact that we're on the last Wednesday of every month, and we're on Zoom, and you can keep your camera off, and I'm mentioning that we're there.
Nice.
If anybody needs it. So it's, you know, getting the word out is important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really powerful, Rod.
Yeah, that is huge. The amount of people, therefore, that you're kind of connecting to in that way is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and Rosie agrees.
Rosie agrees with that. Yeah. Shush. Yeah. What else do we want to cover, guys?
I think we kind of covered it pretty well. I mean, Toby, what's it been like for you? Because somebody's gone through it and been through it, you know, kind of.
Yeah. It's been really quite emotional, to be honest. I remember the very first one we did at the early part of the pandemic, and I was going through a really rough time at that period of having 2 losses. Didn't really know what the score was with our fertility issues, but it was looking like I was the problem, and I was trying to come to terms with it. I was trying to grow kind of courage to go and get tested to even find out if it was me that had the issues. And there I was, going out to the media myself, and obviously doing the fertility support group. And I actually got off the support group and cried. I was actually really emotional. I was really not upset, but just almost just empowered to think that I wasn't alone, and that there's other guys out there just like me that are going through this. But at the same time, I felt very kind of happy in an unusual way that I was able to then offer some support to other guys, because the feedback we got from that very first night was that they just felt so grateful that actually that this space was a place they could come and chat. And I felt so emotional. I was honestly, I got off, I went to Katie and said, I was crying. I was just like, this is just really powerful. And since then I've coped with that a bit better, but I do still feel quite drained after each support group. But in a positive way, right? In a positive way. But just seeing kind of, you know, guys get something from this, and it's helped me out massively, because some of the educational talks we've had, some of the experts in the field that we've had, has allowed me to kind of look at what was going on with our fertility journey and understand my situation. And, you know, without that group, I would never be in that position. And I think that alone has just been, you know, from a selfish perspective, it's really helped me out. But from a selfless perspective, it's just amazing to see so many guys get get something from it, and we welcome, you know, anyone to come into that space, because who knows how much benefit it'll have for them unless they actually come along and try it out. And the feedback we get is everyone's just like, I'm so glad I'm here, I'm so glad I'm chatting away. And you know, I'm now texting guys that have been on the group for a long period of time, some of the regular faces, and the feedback's amazing. So yeah, I'm just grateful that the charity has allowed this space to sort of come together, and I'm grateful for your work, Rhod, because I think, you know, you've really put male fertility on the map, and that's bringing a whole new audience to the HIMFertility support group, and it's exactly what guys need. So I'm massively grateful and super kind of happy, but it should never be that way. It's a strange thing. How can I put that into words? It's like, you know, I don't want any guy to have any fertility issues. I don't want any couples to have fertility issues, but of course it is a thing that it currently exists. But if we can help with someone's journey and help them feel better about it, not isolated, not alienated from society, and make them feel more comfortable and able to talk through it, then that's a really positive thing, and that can really transform someone's mental health, which is an important thing in today's society, right?
Yeah, I mean, touch on that side of things, the mental health impact, and we've had some heavy evenings, haven't we, talking about that?
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Is that's the beauty of a group like this as well, is realizing that those feelings you're having, you know, because so many people say, you feel like you're the only, you know, you might feel angry about your fertility issues, you know, and that's completely normal to feel angry about them. And then you might feel shame that you're angry about them. You might feel like you're the only person who feels angry, and you're the only. And the lovely thing on the support group is those things are all really common, aren't they? The guilt is common, the shame is common, the worry about what's going to happen in your relationship is common, the feeling like you're the only one who feels like this is common. It's all out there, you know. That I think is a really important.
And that's a huge
aspect. Is huge, I think. Yeah,
and that's a huge weight off anyone's shoulders, isn't it? You know, whether it's fertility or mental health or any kind of battle, it always feels like a battle on your own, I think. You know, until you suddenly realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And I think we've seen that relief with a lot of guys that have come along for the first time. Like, oh my God, thank God for this. You know, it's not just me. You can't be kind of, you know, that kind of peer-to-peer support, I don't think, in this sort of situation.
Yeah, because it validates your emotions, doesn't it? Because if you're going through it and you think you are alone, and when you're feeling angry, jealous, you know, all those kind of envy streaks that you get, and you see other couples have children easily and you're struggling, you have a really complex set of emotions that you tend just to bottle up. And I know I certainly did, and it was actually quite destructive. I was on a really destructive path for quite some time, because I barely even opened up to my partner about it at one stage, and that alone was really damaging. But the minute you're then talking to other guys that feel exactly the same way, there's that whole like, oh my God, like actually it's fine to feel like this, and this is okay. There's other people out there that feel exactly the same as I do, and that validation is probably the most powerful thing, I think, out of this support group.
Yeah. And that's really, and that thing you mentioned there about not, you know, I didn't even talk to my partner. You needn't have put the even in there. I think it's very common for men not to talk to their partner on it. A, because we struggle to talk with it. B, because of, I don't know, the shame, the embarrassment, the emasculation or whatever. But also, a completely different side to that same problem thing is that you don't want to lay it at their door, because they're going through a hell of a hard time. You know, probably, you know, often ostensibly much harder time than you are. You know, they're the ones taking, if it's IVF, taking the drugs, they're the ones, their hormones going crazy. They're the ones, you know, really physically putting themselves through it, and emotionally and mentally. So quite often you don't want to say anything. You want to be the strong one. You feel like your role is to be the strong one. So I think having somewhere where you can, and it's not like you can then go off, play sport and bring it up in the changing rooms, and you know you can't bring it up there. So you can't. Most people don't bring it up with their family or something.
Over Sunday dinner.
I certainly didn't over Sunday dinner, exactly, by the fireside. I certainly didn't. So again, it's back to this thing of where do you go, you know? And I think that's what we are, isn't it? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, but on that note though, so like, cause obviously I've gone out into the media and the motorsport world and using motorsport as my like kind of vehicle, excuse the pun, but to raise awareness of male fertility. And I've had Racing for Fertility down the side of my car now. Fertility Network UK is down the side of my car, so it's very apparent that I'm there representing fertility for couples and male fertility. And I've had loads of really quite interesting conversations in the paddock where I might have just won a race. I'm full of adrenaline, covered in champagne, and there I am then talking to someone that's congratulating me, and they're going, "Oh, but by the way, actually, my child's and I, we've had our child for an IVF process," and like that's so surreal because it's like, oh my god, actually, the kind of work that I'm doing within motorsport that's quite male dominated in terms of fan base and people that are within the sport. I'm connecting with lots and lots of people, and obviously you mentioned, Rod, with your comedy gigs and actually asking the crowd who suffered from fertility, but actually just by doing those kind of activities is really kind of normalizing the topic, and that needs to happen, and the more we can get that out there and get that kind of feeling that actually this is a common thing and it's okay to feel how you're feeling through this process, it's just so important. And since I've done that work, I've just seen so much kind of like shift in the way people think about fertility, and that's even from colleagues that I work with, even like my race crew, that have had children themselves that didn't actually struggle, but now they're actually really considerate among people that might be struggling, because I think a lot of the assumption is that when you're going through fertility issues, obviously you tend not to talk about it openly to your immediate friends, family, and people around you. And how often do you get, "Oh, why haven't you had kids yet?" Or "Isn't it about time you had children?" And all those kind of like societal assumptions. But by doing this kind of work that we're doing within the media and through HIMFertility and all this kind of campaign work we're doing, more and more people are actually getting more considerate about maybe not making those assumptions. And I think the kind of support is on two sides. Obviously, the peer-to-peer support group for guys going through fertility issues is really, really powerful and important for those guys. But equally, it's nice to actually make a difference for people that just assume that people should just be able to have children, and actually their closest friend who hasn't yet had children could be going through this themselves. And maybe instead of saying, "Oh, why haven't you had children yet?" maybe the conversation will change and say, "Is everything okay?" And I think that's kind of like how I visualize how HIMFertility or how the whole fertility thing needs to be. And but yeah, I'm certainly seeing that shift, which is really great.
Yeah, amazing. I think, gents, unfortunately, much as we could chat for some time, I think the fire is dwindling and we must move on. But no,
Stick another log on.
Yeah. I think we better draw things to a
We're
close.
out of logs. We're out of logs.
Yeah.
We're on a strict log limit.
Yeah. Terrible supply and demand issue. Yeah. But yeah, awesome to chat, gents. Kind of any kind of closing comments for guys that are kind of listening in, do you think?
So it's hard to take this seriously. I could just see my dog's tail wagging.
I think, to be honest, I think this kind of sums up our support group. Really.
I was going to say that, yeah.
It's a space that is, it's quite informal, it's quite relaxed, it's chilled out. We're here to, kind of, I know it's a very difficult topic to talk about, but we're here to kind of have some fun as well. We have a crack together as a bunch of guys, but do come and find us. If you're listening to this and you've never been on a support group, check it out. Come and join us one evening and have a chat with the three of us and the rest of the gang, and hopefully you'll find that it's beneficial to you. I think that's probably the best way I can put it, really.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, and I echo all of that. And don't forget, you can leave your camera off. Maybe I should have left mine off. I know the dog was going to get involved, and I turned my camera off. But, I think that's the thing. Is it is what we hope to do. I think through your racing, through me talking about on stage, and all of us, is normalize this, reduce the stigma, reduce the taboo, and get more people talking, more people involved. It is a small but perfectly formed support group. It's a lovely little community, but we would love to grow those numbers, because we all know from the work that we do, Ian, your work as well, just how many people have nowhere to go at the moment. They don't use something like this, and we know how beneficial it would be to them if they did. So it's a sort of, urging people, really, I think, is what urging people that we know are out there in vast numbers of men who would benefit from this support. It's urging them to try it. That's my closing statement. Try it.
Perfect.
What do you think?
Gents, it's been awesome. We'll sign off at this point. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And yeah, do come along to the group. Oh, perfect timing, Rosie. Perfect timing. Come along to the group. You can find details on the FN UK website on their events page. We're a friendly bunch. Come and join us. Cheers, gents.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Ian. Cheers, Toby.
Thank you.
That's good night from her.